1 in 3 supermarket products have been shrinkflated over the last 4 years, which means less product in the thing, in the can,
at the same price
at the same price or more. And then you wonder also, did the prices ever come back? What happens with
I
that?
can answer that for you.
Yeah,
the prices never
come back.
Really? No, really? Really? No, really? Really?
It's kind of sneaky. When they raise prices, we get it, but when they put less, when they put less product in, and they do it in a way where either they indent the bottom of the thing, or there's air in there, or you don't know. So we wanted to get on somebody who not only knows about it, but he's considered the world's foremost expert on shrinkflation.
Yes, we do. A consumer advocate for over 45 years, Edgar Dworsky, also known as Mr. Consumer, founded Consumer World in 1995. It's a public service company highlighting the latest consumer news and scam alerts and ways to save money. He's been tracking the downsizing of products for over 3 decades. He also runs mouseprint.org, which spotlights the gotchas in the fine print of advertising and product labels. I'm going to ask him if every time I say I agree to an Apple product, whether I've given away a
big deal.
He was a former Massachusetts assistant attorney general in consumer protection. But let's welcome Edgar Dworsky to our show. Nice to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate the invitation.
So before we get into products and some that are shrinkflated worse than others and skimpflated, which means the ingredients are watered down or whatever, why did you get into what called to you to do something that's not thankful? You don't make money doing this?
I'm guessing he was taken. He was abused. He was an
So there was
abused
an
victim.
item?
Something happened. He thought he bought a thing. It was less of a thing, and it was a crusade was born.
Is
Am I
that
right?
accurate?
Am I anywhere near right?
I actually majored in marketing as a college student, and some of my jobs were in market research. But I learned, creating questionnaires, listening to consumers. I cared more about the consumers than I cared about the manufacturers, that hired me to do the questionnaires. And if you do something you love, you don't have to get paid for it.
Well,
believe me, I get paid bupkis.
So you do it from your heart. And you not only, I got the newsletter, and I've gone to Consumer World. You should see how many articles he puts out. And I think you still every Monday put out the top shrinkflation items, a couple top shrinkflation items to look for, correct?
Well, every Monday there's a newsletter with 25 or 30 consumer news stories. I didn't write most of them. And maybe quarterly, I'll do a list of items that have shrunk, or as you'd say, we're skimping on a product where you're getting, less oil in the salad dressing than you used to get, and they substitute water. That's what skimpflation is.
Yeah, well, I've seen him. I've seen him hold up the
Really?
thing next to each other.
Water
and
for
you
oil.
watch, you can see the levels right there. Before we get to certain products, I just had read an article in preparation for this saying that the worst offenders of this are dollar stores or the inexpensive stores. Does that seem accurate to you?
Well, what I found is dollar stores have products made especially for them. Someone sent me a picture of some Campbell's Chunky Soup, and the regular size is 18.4 ounces or something like that. And then there was a 16.1, and they said, look at this shrinkflation. No, the 16-ounce one is specially made for the dollar stores so they can charge less for it. Most consumers don't realize they're really getting less for their money at the dollar store.
Wow.
Buying the smaller size.
Because you can't compare.
You can't compare, and they think, oh, the product shrunk. Well, it really didn't. Both of them coexist, but if you went to the supermarket, you'd be getting more.
What categories, Edgar, are the worst? I always hear about toilet paper because it's, I guess, easier to do because you're talking about sheets as opposed to whatever, but still 8 rolls.
Well, paper products is one of the worst categories. Cookies, snack food, chips, you name it, it's shrunk. I always say it will have gone too far if I open that carton of eggs and there's only 11 inside.
But they would never be that obvious. And is the public starting to push? Why now? I mean, President Biden talked about this. Like I said, in France, they're doing this. In Germany, they're writing laws to this. Why now? Is it worse than ever, or are people just pushing back?
It's worse than ever because of inflation. When manufacturers feel the pinch, they have to figure out some way to pass it on to consumers. They can do it straight by raising the price of the item, but they know a lot of consumers are going to catch that and may defect to a competing product. Or they maybe make the package a little smaller, give the consumer a little less for the same money, or sometimes even more money, because they know consumers are not going to catch it. It's really a sneaky backdoor price increase.
And Edgar, am I correct that in better financial times, when these companies are doing a little bit better, they never turn around and go, "Oh, we're doing good now, we can lower the price"? I mean, is there ever a true price reduction once a price has gone up?
Sometimes prices come down. You'll see specials. You may see a loss leader. But people often ask, well, do you ever see the big product again? Well, sometimes they shrink the product so much they have to bring back a larger size, but it's never at the original price. And they give it a fancy name, like potato chips. You always used to have a 1 pound bag of potato chips. Then they became 14 ounces and 13 and 12 and 11 and 10. Then they bring back a new one. Oh, look, party size. And it's 16 ounces again, probably at double the original price.
Whoa. Whoa, so party size and also new and improved is nonsense a lot?
Well, it's funny. You mentioned before, are we ever going to see something on a label that talks about getting small size? We always see new and improved, look 20% less. My fantasy has always been, are we going to see a starburst that says, look 20% less instead of 20% more?
Right.
Wow. But new and improved, they bring stuff back at a bigger price with new and improved. Do they have to prove that it's new and improved in any way or no?
It's typically viewed as puffing to say that the product is new and improved. Hopefully it really is true. They've done something. I mean, for years, Charmin, the number one toilet paper brand, used to say, oh, it's now softer and it's fluffed. And I had asked them at one point, well, you know, the original Charmin had 650 sheets on a roll. They're now down, if you could find single rolls of Charmin, to 55 sheets on a roll, 90% less. Let me actually show you a product. This is like a toy. You can see the dollar bill is here to show this is maybe 1.5 inches more than a dollar bill. If you could find a product like this today, it would have 55 sheets on a roll compared to the original 650. But what did they do? They came out with mega size and then super mega size. And now there's a mega XXL size. That's 440 sheets on Charmin. So it's still 200 less than the original.
My God. So when it dropped from 600 to 50, didn't the consumer go, hell no?
Oh, if you did it all in one fell swoop, but we're talking about, think of back to the days of Mr. Whipple in the 1960s.
Right. Yeah.
Ladies, please don't squeeze the Charmin.
Right.
Over the years, so it went down to 600 and 550 and 500 and 400, and just slowly, maybe every 6 months, maybe every year or two, so you don't catch it. And that's what's so sneaky about shrinkflation.
Oh, but Edgar,
you look at the product and it looks about the same size as it always
Let me do
did.
the pushback and advocate, just give the company's point of view. Hey, Edgar, petroleum products cost more. The processing costs more. Labor costs more. Real estate costs more. Electricity costs more. We couldn't do this and keep a profit. Is that legitimate, or is it legitimate to say 50% of that, but they still keep their margins, and the margins have gone up over the years?
Well, it's legitimate that they have, increased costs. Absolutely. Do they pass it on to consumers in a straightforward way? Many shoppers say they would rather pay more than have this sneaky backdoor price increase where they do it in kind of a sneaky, surreptitious way.
Well, how about store brands? When you see that happens and you go, I'm not choosing to buy into that, it's too much, I'll go with the store brand. Is the store brand generally cheaper and more product?
Well, the store brand is generally cheaper, and it tends to be the last one to change and downsize. Years ago, when Skippy went from 18 ounces to 16.3, you mentioned in your intro, how did they do it? The old jar looked the same as the new jar. Well, they put an indent in the bottom of the jar so it looked to be the same size. So they're kind of masters at packaging tricks. So that's something you have to look for. How did they do it? Cereal, for example, Kellogg's Cereal Special K Red Berry came out. It's an ounce and a half or so less than it was before. The new box is taller than the old one.
Is this, Edgar, is this more or less limited to supermarket items, or is this happening, in big electronics and in appliances and cars? Is it across the board shrinkflation, or is it just the sort of small daily products we find on the shelves?
Well, we tend to see it most in health and beauty aids, in supermarkets. But someone just posted today a story about Home Depot having some certain type of wire. And they had the wire from 4 years ago and the wire today, and they showed it was a narrower gauge. So it really can be across the board. See, and a lot of times we don't know. With skimpflation, where the manufacturer reformulates the product, we don't know what percentage of cleaning ingredients are in Tide, for example. It's not on the label. So how would you know if they took out some of the expensive cleaners in there and substituted something else? You have no way of knowing.
Well, I also read somewhere that they shave like bars of soap. They'll shave the corners. They'll round off the corners to shave the size, and you won't. So it's not obvious when you're holding the bar that it's smaller. Is that accurate?
Well, they've changed the shape of bars. They've put a curve in it. The bath size bar used to be 5 ounces. You're lucky if it's 3.9 ounces these days. Tuna cans, it was 7 ounces to start with, then it was 6.5, and then 6 and 5.5. And the current, tuna is 5 ounces. Let me show you kind of the history of ice cream.
Okay.
This is Breyer's ice cream, one of the big brands, but other brands like Edie's did the same thing. Used to buy a half gallon of ice cream, 64 ounces. Then they took out a cup, made it 56 ounces. Then they took out another cup and made it 48 ounces. And we're paying as much, if not more, today.
But are they still
for ice
calling
cream
it a
than we
half?
used to.
Do they still call it a half gallon?
No, they don't call it a half gallon. But I mean, here, when you have them lined up, you can see a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
But in the store, unless you have that last package of the old size right next to the new package of the new size, you can't tell the difference. So the change over time is very subtle.
And
you buy a 4-roll pack of toilet paper, it looks like it always did. Same thing with paper towels, but you're getting much less.
And is this completely legal that these companies do not have to report what they're doing to the consumer?
It is absolutely kosher as long as they list the net weight or the net count on the package. It's up to us as good consumers and sharp shoppers to pay attention. Shame on us if we don't pay attention. And that's really one of my tips. You have to get to know what the size of the products is you normally buy. If you're just someone who goes to the store, grabs the product, throws it in your cart, you don't pay attention to the fine print, you're going to get snookered.
Or is there a movement now to try and legislate so that there has to be more transparency? And do you predict it will be successful?
There's actually a couple of bills in Congress. One of them would direct the Federal Trade Commission to say, hey, shrinkflation is illegal. You can't do it. Well, I think the odds of that passing are slim and none. There's another bill that would say, oh, well, how about making a disclosure on the package similar to what you talked about they're doing in Europe? Maybe that's going to happen. But again, the Federal Trade Commission, I'm afraid, is going to be handcuffed, starting January 20th. We're not going to see as many consumer protection movements, any longer from them.
Do you have any more examples? Because I read when I was researching this, I saw you hold up, maybe it was Listerine. They have new Streamline. When you see new Streamline bottle for easier to grip or whatever, that can also be a giveaway, correct?
Well, now, we didn't plan this. And this is not Listerine. This is Gatorade.
There you go. And I'm sorry if I'm wrong about Listerine. There you go.
That's all right. So this Gatorade is 32 ounces. This one is 28. So you lost half a cup between the two. Would you necessarily notice? No. What did they do? They tapered the middle
Yeah.
of this bottle. And when I asked them, why did you do it? They said, well, we wanted to make the bottle easier to grip. Well, give me a break. Did they really get a ton of consumer complaints that said, gee, I have a hard time holding this big bottle. Please make it smaller.
Wow.
Does the average consumer, this is interesting. I think I'm probably your worst nightmare because I am a sort of a, I need towels, grab it off the shelf. I don't really look as much. But does the average consumer notice this, A, and B, care enough to stop the trend?
I think more and more consumers are noticing. For decades, I called this downsizing. But maybe 7 or 8 years ago, the term shrinkflation came about, and the media really glommed on to that. And because of it, there have been so many stories about products shrinking. Consumers' awareness of it really is increasing. And when you read comments, on my website, mouseprint.org, when I showcase, half a dozen or a dozen items, people really are getting angry. Many people say, I'm going to switch away from the name brand. I'm going to switch to another brand that hasn't done it, or as you mentioned before, the store brand, which tends to be the last one to change. So there is anger out there, but has that anger translated into companies changing how they do business? Money talks louder than consumer anger.
So there hasn't been enough
unfortunately.
pushback to brands. Brands are not suffering from this yet, or are they? Do people at a certain point say, I am switching brands, and then these companies actually see it and it hurts them?
Well, the trouble is, then the competitor switches to the smaller size also. So now there's equilibrium
God,
in the
where am I
market.
going?
Everyone's doing it. Where is there for the consumer to go? There isn't.
Edgar, do you have any more examples before we move on?
Those are the three that I
Those are
have
biggies.
here. But it just happens across the board. There used to be a time you buy Oreos, a 16-ounce package, and then they went down to 15 point something. And now I believe it's like 13 point something for Oreos. If you don't pay attention, you really don't realize you're getting less for your money. One other nasty trick they're doing, we mentioned before, like potato chips, putting the name party size on it. Breakfast cereal, you have large size, family size, giant size on the top of cereal. And if they condition people to buy by size name, you're not paying attention to the net weight.
Right.
So, wife says to hubby, go to the store and get some, family size Cheerios. Well, he sees the word family, grabs
Bingo,
it, puts
right.
it in the cart, and you don't realize you may be getting a bowl or two less in every box. That's how they get you. That's kind of the latest trick in their playbook.
But I'm also wondering, I'm not I'm not pushing back on your concern at all, Edgar, but I also wonder why if I'm making a product, and sure, I want to increase profit to the greatest extent I can, but even if federally I'm not regulated to do certain things that I know are best for my customer base, am I really just so unconcerned about my customer that I'll take every advantage of them I can? Do you find that there is just no sense of ethics, towards the consumer and the customer base that they're that easily flaunted?
I mean, it's hard to call it unethical. Is it sneaky? For sure. The trouble is everyone does it. It's a copycat industry. If one toilet paper brand downsizes, another one follows suit. If one peanut butter gets smaller, another one does. If one brand of cereal, if Kellogg's does it, General Mills follows. Any number of times when I've asked companies, why did you do it? I'll say, well, a competitor did it. So we're just kind of following the trend in the market.
That's what my mother would say. If the competitor jumped off the roof, would you jump off the roof?
But here's the deal.
That's when my mother would come in.
But to defend them from a standpoint of, are they ripping us off? So I'm the company, and I go, my costs go up. I have to launch new products that don't always work, so I got to build in failure and all that. And I got to deliver profits. because if I don't deliver profits, I'm screwed. So if we're not going to sell a product because we have to raise the price and our competition hasn't, they're going to buy the competition. So
But if
what
I'm
our
giving
choice
them
is
more, if I say to a consumer, you can pay the same price and get less, or I'll give you what you're used to getting, but I need to charge you 30 cents more, and here's why. Why wouldn't the consumer say, okay, but at least I'm getting
because
what
some do and some can't afford it. So there you go. I mean,
sure, but right now the choice isn't on the table. Is what seems to be the result.
It's going to be interesting. Do you think this will continue? The shrinkflation goes on forever. It's been around since the 1700s. It's worse now in some respects. Do you think it's going to keep going?
It's going to keep going. And if you have 2 seconds, I will tell you the folklore of how it started. Back in the 1950s was the time of nickel vending machines for candy. Well, all of a sudden, the chocolate manufacturers told the vendors, oh, we're going to have to raise our prices. Well, they said, what are we going to do? The vendors said, because our machines take a nickel. We can't make the machines take 6 cents. So someone came up with a brilliant idea. Oh, we'll make the chocolate bars a little smaller. So you're talking about since at least the 1950s. Wow. So what's that? 75 years. Happy anniversary.
Wow. I had heard it goes back to the 1700s, but I don't have the reference to that. So one last question. Are even the gluten-free and the organic people doing this? Is a vegan product?
Less of what I don't want?
It is across the board. Actually, a consumer reporter here in Boston said, you better go to Whole Foods because, their shredded mozzarella, it used to be 8 ounces, and I think it's now only 6 or 7.
People can choose to buy or not buy, decide if it's sneaky or not sneaky, but it's good to be informed. It's good that somebody's still out there. I can't believe you're still doing it. I think you can't believe you're still doing it.
Still doing it. I mean, it's 46 years in Consumer World, wow, which was my main website, was 1995. Wow. It was created 3 months after Amazon and eBay, and I'm making only a little bit less than they make.
Well, just a tad less.
Yeah, but they're shrinking too.
Oh, yeah. Consumerworld.org is the place to go. And what's the Mouseprint one? Mouseprint?
And mouseprint.org.
Which I love. And as soon as you see that, you go, how many things have I signed in my lifetime that I haven't read?
Oh, my God. Every time I click on an Apple product, I go, well, that's a kidney.
But a lot of times, and I wonder this too, and as we send you off, with the younger generation, that's the TikTok generation, that doesn't watch shows, they watch pieces of shows on which is short form. I'm wondering how much of that generation actually sits down and reads contracts. And knows
Are you wondering? I'll give you the answer. Zero.
So it's a new generation of just signing stuff and not necessarily reading it. So we need guys like you more than ever to point out what's out there.
We have to teach the old lessons to a new generation.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you so much, and check out his website, and it's fascinating. Thank mouseprint.org too, and thanks for coming on, Edgar. Thanks for doing what you're doing.
Well, great. Thanks for having me, guys.
A pleasure. A pleasure.
So it's disheartening.
You know what? We may have gone a little shorter with it. We might be. Did we shrink? Did our episode shrink?
Possibly.
Did we do enough? Are we getting 40% less 40%
now,
for the same price?
Edgar Dworsky with 40% up, 40% less. Well, it's kind of a simplistic idea, but I think most people they're starting to care because they're pushing back everywhere. And as he went off, he just said in Europe is even worse. It's half worse. The products.
I just think it's for me, I would never know. Am I counting the chips in the Pringles can? I don't know.
Yeah, but when I open that family pack, when I open that family pack of chips at home, and I'm looking down like at the Chilean miners, they're way down there. Where do the chips start? Way down. You start to go, wait a minute, this is less. And again, I don't think a lot of people begrudge the companies because I guess they figure doing business is harder, it costs more, they got to pay tax, whatever that is. On the other hand, I think the pushback is big because it does appear sneaky. And because the prices never go back.
That's right. The thing is, honestly, trust me to be a big boy. Tell me, hey, guys, our costs are going up. We're going to give this to you 2 ways. You can buy exactly the same product, but it'll be a little more. For those of you that can't afford more, we're going to give you a little less.
All right, but I'll push back.
And then go, okay, we're in a relationship.
But I can push back right now.
Sure.
All of our items are marked. We have the weight on the item. And guess what? look at the weight you paid. Look the weight you paid. You can see it. It's not like we're hiding that.
No, but
of course we made the.
They
he was
know
right,
nobody's
by the way,
reading the weight level.
the cereal box. I saw an example of that where it's like less, and the box looks like a mountain, the Chrysler Building.
Well, I should also point out that a little, and I don't want to
Little
kill any
cereal-
potential.
You mean-
But some of the cereals, where it's sugar with an oat.
You mean, if you're not getting that extra 2 cups of Count Chocula,
it's probably
might not hurt.
I didn't want to name names.
No, I'm just
I
saying.
was going to say a certain captain, but
We know they're sugary,
yeah, I mean,
but that's up to me. That's my responsibility. What I want to eat, and it's right there on the box, right next to Tony.
You know what I was thinking of the whole time? Thank God I have a fountain in my head of Jerry Seinfeld material. And he used to do this bit about the Certs commercial. Now with 2 drops of Retsin. And we go, 2 drops of Retsin. Nobody knows what the hell Retsin is.
Did it used to be
the
1
selling
drop?
point was there's now 2 drops.
We now have more of something you've never heard of, and you weren't sure if it was there before, which is insane, right?
I always thought that was so brilliant.
And by the way, as
the
you
selling
say that,
point is, I don't know what it is.
anybody of a
and
certain age goes,
right.
it now has Retsin.
Yeah, right?
But you know
Retsin.
what? He's smart because we had a word guy on. Obviously, the way they present it
You
is
bet.
must be
Has
good.
to be good.
Has
They
to be
added
good.
a drop.
Why would they put it in here?
Right.
And by the way, they didn't skimp. They gave us two drops of Retsin.
in each mint.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Lord, look up Retsin and see if it even exists. See what comes up when you put in the word Retsin.
What is it? What is it? Yeah.
What is it? Does it show a picture? Do you squeeze an animal
Right?
to get it? What is
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
What is it?
Oh,
Right?
you definitely squeeze an animal to get it. There's no question. Yeah.
Yeah, we never think of it. Here's an episode. Really?
When he came out with that bit, I thought that's the most brilliant observation because I used to watch those commercials and go
Five-hour
2
energy
drops of
drink.
Retsin.
5-hour energy
That's a
drink is
great
not
one
a bad
too. Yeah,
bit
yeah,
either.
yeah.
But Retsin, let's see if there's a Retsin answer.
I have an answer.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Laura. Yep.
Retsin is a trademarked ingredient in certs.
Certs.
It's a trademark ingredient search that does what?
That gives them their signature green flecks and helps combat bad breath.
Okay, it gives
It's
it.
a mixture of partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil, copper gluconate, and flavoring.
Okay, so
So
there is,
nothing in it suggests the word Retsin. They took those things.
but it gives it the green speckles.
Yeah.
It helps with your breath and whatever.
Right.
So it is the item that is the breath fighter, I guess.
Sure.
David Guggenheim.
Actually, Jason, if you do in fact have some certs
Yeah.
lying around,
They're valuable.
2 things. One, you could sell them on eBay because they were discontinued in 2018.
Yeah.
But you have to mark on the sale not for human consumption because
Really?
they've actually banned the ingredients that were dubbed
Come on.
Retsin. Yes. Really? No, really.
So the new one, we should launch search
Wow.
now. No longer with Retsin.
No longer-
We
no
took
longer
out the
with
2
Retsin.
drops.
New and improved Retsin.
2 drops less Retsin.
And we can say new and improved.
New and improved with less Retsin than ever. Wow, I didn't know that. Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Holy
yes.
crap. The
they,
thing they promoted
banned-
as the sell got them.
Got them taken off the market.
I say allegedly. Use the word allegedly.
Sure, allegedly,
We-
allegedly.
Even though we have insurance, I
Sure,
don't want to
yes,
be sued for
right.
that. Yeah.
It has not been allowed to be sold in food in the United States since 2018. So there you go. No more Retsin, no more certs. I guess
Really? No,
there's a
really.
stink on it.
That's huge.
I have to learn
Ironically.
to really respect the expiration dates of things too. I don't give
trust them.
their
I don't
due.
trust them. I'll eat tapioca puddings a month,
Yeah.
2 months.
Yeah.
Certain stuff I don't risk it, but other stuff you go, come on, you're
My
big.
wife, it's like I'll buy sliced deli meat, and I didn't get to it for a week, and my wife goes, "Throw it out," and I go,
You do what your
I'm not
grandfather
smelling
did. What
it.
did your
It's not
grandfather? What did
slimy.
your grandfather do?
"What did he do?"
Yeah, you smell it.
You
smell
yeah,
it.
You smell it. Yeah, you smell
And if
it.
it smells even kind of close to
Yeah.
what it should be, you go,
Yeah,
all right, all
yeah.
right. Have you ever, okay,
If it's mild body odor, it's still edible.
my grandfather, I actually saw my grandfather would take like a muffin.
Yeah.
It would have mold on it.
Yeah, and take
and
off
he
the
would cut
moldy
off the
part.
mold part.
Yeah,
And I
sure.
go, wow.
Yeah, I've done that to a bagel. That piece was moldy. The rest of it's fine.
You don't know what's
And
harvesting?
then I nuke it, and I go, "What's going to survive the nuke?"
You don't know what other colonies are breeding in there?
It's penicillin.
It's just that area.
It's penicillin.
Ah! Wow, really?
Yeah, well,
and you're worried about skimpflation, and yet you're eating bagels that grow mushrooms on them. It doesn't matter.
2 for 1. Not with mushrooms.
So fruit until it's like rotten.
Oh, unless if fruit falls apart in my hand. If it doesn't do that, I'm eating it. I'm
it
eating it.
disintegrates when you pick it up.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah.
Wow. How long does a banana last in your house?
A banana? Well, first of all, it has stages, because first is the banana in the bowl.
Yes.
Then when you go, it's starting to get some spots. Then you put it in the fridge.
See, that's what I freezer. I put it in the freezer.
Wait,
as a pop.
we haven't gone to the freezer.
Oh, not yet.
Put it in the fridge for the spots. When the spots meld into one brown banana.
Freezer?
Now you open it, you take the skin out, you wrap it in saran. You slice the mushy banana. You slice the mushy banana in half. You put peanut butter in it, and then put the other half back on, wrap it in saran, and freeze it. And
You're taking a mushy, a dead banana and bringing
once
it.
it's
like
frozen,
Frankenstein.
once it's frozen, it's not mushy anymore.
You take a banana you wouldn't eat and put peanut butter on it to bring it new life.
Bring it back. Give my banana life.
How many people here have ever heard of that? Nobody. David,
Really?
nobody.
No, really?
No. Look, my family was sheep. My mother would take a turkey from Thanksgiving.
Sure.
We would make sandwiches for days.
Sure, of
Then we
course.
would make soup
Yes,
for days.
right.
And then she would give me the carcass as a bicycle helmet.
Right,
Okay, they
of
never
course.
threw anything out.
That's right.
But they didn't take mushy bananas
My
and
mother
make
went
a
the other
treat.
way. My mother would say, "There's only half a chicken left. I'm not putting it back in the refrigerator. Somebody eat it." And we would. We would eat after a full meal. Well, it's only half a chicken. Divided 3 ways.
Wow. The mushy banana. Anything else that goes past the expiration date that you rejuvenate? Mm-hmm. What?
You've been to my house. You've eaten
I know, but I don't
things
know.
way
What have I
past-
eaten? What have I eaten? Now I don't know.
I don't want to even
Wow.
get into it. Have you
Wow.
had coffee in my house? You don't take it black, do you?
I don't want to go there. I don't want to know what you use for
If
cream. I don't know.
Whatever the carton says, whatever it says, if you pour the milk in and it doesn't come up in little clumps, it was probably okay. Don't you think? You drank it.
I'm not flashing back
You're
to
still
how
here.
many scripts I've written and how much milk I've had at your house.
Yeah,
Surprised
yeah.
that I'm still alive.
Yeah, you're still here.
But lactose intolerant.
yeah.
As a matter of fact, totally intolerant. Because was that white stuff in my coffee? Rotten banana? Rotten banana?
By the way, also a good use for a banana.
Unreal. So Googleheim, thank you for that info. And you too, Laurie, about the Rets. Wow. Retson took him out.
Yeah. Edgar strike, anything else for you there, David?
Well, it's just sort of struck me, Jason, that the bagel gets eaten even though it's green, but the banana gets reshifted several times
Yes.
without the consideration of maybe I'll just eat it.
Well, who wants
No.
You don't really just want to pick up a banana and eat it. I've never had that.
Yeah.
I buy
Yeah.
them with good intentions.
I buy
And
them for
then-
cereal, and then I don't eat cereal that morning, and then the bananas.
I have blueberries that have been looking at me for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
going,
right.
Yeah, you want to get healthy. When
Right.
is
That's
this happening?
exactly right.
When
Yeah,
is this
yeah,
happening?
right.
Yeah.
And then I ate them in some
All
yogurt,
berries are
and
that.
they tasted horrible.
Yeah.
And they're probably bad, but I went, yeah, but in yogurt they're not so bad. You rationalize
Okay.
everything.
Welcome to my house. Now you're in my house. By the way, it's only me in my house. My wife throws everything out. Dana throws everything out.
This is why, Jason. There's
So you go home from the store, you
It's
put it
trench
I don't know how
warfare.
I've made it to 44 years. My date was stamped.
What I picture with
For
Dana, because I know her,
2006,
is
you
you
know.
come home shopping, you open the refrigerator, put something in, you walk out of there, and she takes it out and throws it out immediately.
Yeah, but she's also the one that leaves a thimble of milk in the milk carton. Still good.
Excuse me.
Still good.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Growing up in my house, I never realized how insane my parents were until I moved out, went to college, and then got hepatitis and had to move back in for a brief period of time. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night. First off, the convection currents coming off the floor because it's 140 degrees. It's like those movies in the Sahara where you can't make out shapes?
Sure, yeah.
So I'm already soaking wet like I have a monkey flu. And I go to the refrigerator and I think that I'm on acid because everything's upside down with a note on it. Do not touch for mom. Every container is upside down because it may have one more drop of something
right.
in it.
Absolutely
Everything
right.
is upside.
Yep.
Hardly anything is right side up
That
in
is
my
correct.
parents' refrigerator.
Yep.
And then I said, hepatitis or no hepatitis, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. So you talk about cheap.
It's not cheap.
Excuse me?
Dana, it's not about cheap for Dana. I bought it. It's good. I'll use it. And I go, but you don't have a thimble of milk in there. Well, I have what I have.
But when I'm squeezing mustard and it's farting and only liquid is coming out, I think it's time. Don't you think it's time? David?
It's time.
And we're a wrap. really. Thank you for the definitive word. Another episode of Really No Really is out. We've turned it upside down. We've
It's
got
upside
every
down.
drop.
It's farting
It's farting, and we're out.
and runny.
And running. Done.
And same cost, less content.
You got an option. You can say goodbye, or you can smear us with peanut butter, wrap us in saran wrap, and put us in the freezer.
By the way, people will be doing that.
I
They'll
bet
be doing that.
I bet they won't.
Yeah.
I bet they will not.
Write us and tell us
I bet they will not.
if you do the 3 stages of a banana's life.
Yeah, and if the home allows you to mail that letter, we'll receive it. Thank you.